Touch the Lake and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly news feature on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's have a look at the top headlines from this week. His Holiness the Dalai Lama emphasizes non-violence and compassion to resolve conflicts. Sikyong attends Panchen Lama Awareness Initiative in New Delhi. Swedish Parliamentary Friendship Group for Tibet proposes motions on Tibet. Sikyong Penpa Tsering concludes official visit in Paris. Speaker Khenpo Sonam Tenphel speaks at India Foundation's roundtable discussion on Tibet. Tibet Awareness Campaign held at India Social Forum in Patna. On November 24th, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote a message about embracing and promoting non-violence and compassion to resolve conflicts in today's world on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. His Holiness said the occasion reminds of a landmark document in the history of the planet which affirms that all human beings have the right to freedom from want and freedom from fear. His Holiness further talked about the desire for change in the world to opting a non-violent approach to resolving conflicts peacefully on the basis of dialogue. The kind of change, he added, that upholds human rights and human dignity. Coming next week on December 12, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will give a one-day teaching in Sikkim on Gyaltse Thome Sangpo's 37 practices of Bodhisattva Lalin Soduma at Peljor Stadium at the request of the Sikkim state government. Following that, on December 14, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will give a general teaching followed by the ceremony for generation of Bodhicitta Semke at Segyu Monastery in Salugara. His Holiness will start his program in Bodh Gaya this year with the inaugural of the three-day International Sangha Forum on Bridging Traditions, Embracing Modernity, a dialogue on the Buddha's teaching in today's world, organized by the Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the International Buddhist Confederation from 20 to 22nd December. His Holiness the Dalai Lama will give 3 days of teaching at the Kala Chakra Teaching Ground on Nagarjunas in praise of Tamatatu, Choing Topa from 29th to 31st December, followed by conferment of Manjushri Empowerment Jambe Yang Jenang on 31st December and will attend a long live prayer offered to him on 1st January. On Tuesday this week, the Tashilimpu Monastery, based in South India in coordination with the India-Tibet Coordination Office, New Delhi, launched the Panchen Lama Awareness Initiative at the Constitution Club of India, New Delhi. The event was attended by key dignitaries including Sikyong Penpa Tsering, President of the Central Tibetan Administration, MB Sujit Kumar, convener of All-Party Indian Parliamentary Forum on Tibet, MB Sushil Kumar Modi, former Deputy CM of Bihar, MB Jayant Siri Namgyal, MB Anil Prasad Hegre, MB Chandreshwar Prasad, and Rinche Khanto Krime, National Convener of the Core Group for Tibetan Cause India. Zike Prumbuche Tenzi Thubden Rapkil, Venerable Abbot of Tashilimpu Monastery, graced the occasion as the chief guest. The members of the Indian Parliament in their address condemned the forceful occupation of Tibet by the Chinese Communist regime and called for the immediate release of His Eminence, the 11th Panchen Lama, from the Chinese captivity. Sikyong Penpa Tsering in his address highlighted the significance of the 11th Panchen Lama, detailing the deeds of His Eminence, the 10th Panchen Lama, and his sacrifices for Tibet and the Tibetan people.
Important role in his previous life as the 10th Panchen Lama. After he was released from prison after the death of Mao Zedong, when Deng Xiaoping took up the responsibility in China, there was little space for freedom in the early 80s when Hu Yaobang also sent his people to study the situation inside Tibet. And Panchen Rinpoche played a very, very important role in getting Tibetan language back on the Tibetan landscape, Tibetan religion back on the Tibetan landscape. But unfortunately, he died very young. In fact, we have every reason to believe that the former Panchen Rinpoche was assassinated. If we look at the telltale signs on his body, we could see a lot of signs of poisoning. He was doing very well. He was speaking upright about what is happening inside Tibet, and in a few days, he was no more with us.
Tsigep Rinpoche, Venerable Abbot of Tashilumbo Monastery, during his address, read a 6-point appeal letter to the parliament members of the Indian government and its people for their support in securing the release of the 11th Panchen Lama from the grasp of the Chinese government. The Panchen Lama Awareness Initiative event was attended by Tibetan MPs, Advocate Tashi Gelson, Chairman and Chief Executive Councillor of Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council, Leh, Sharze Khensur Changchup Choyde Rinpoche, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, Tibetan representatives, Indian Friends of Tibet, and media friends. The Swedish Parliamentary Friendship Group for Tibet proposes 3 different parliamentary motions on Tibet in the Swedish Parliament. These motions pertain to the issues of the reincarnation of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Sweden's government to raise with China the violations of human rights in Tibet, force boarding schools and resuming dialogue with Tibetan representatives, and Sweden's government to work at the EU level to support the appointment of an EU Special Coordinator for Tibet. Earlier in September this year, 11 parliamentarians of the Tibet Friendship Group, headed by Chairperson MP Margareta Satterfield, were the guest of honor at the celebration of Tibetan Democracy Day in Dharamshala, India, where they also met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Sikyong Penpa Tsering's first visit to Sweden was in October 2022, organized by the Office of Tibet, London, coincided with the appointment of Sweden's new Prime Minister and the renewal of the Tibet Friendship Group in the new parliament. After concluding official engagements in Vienna, Sikyong Penpa Tsering of the Central Tibetan Administration arrived in Paris on 30th November. Sikyong was received with a warm welcome at the airport by the Tibetan parliamentarian Thupten Gyatso, Representative Rinpoche Churen Genka, Office of Tibet, Brussels, Paris Coordinator Thupten Tsering, and staff of the Bureau de Tibet, President of the Paris Tibetan Association Kama Tile, and members of the local Tibetan community in Paris. Sikyong Penpa Tsering was interviewed by media personnel from different media outlets in Paris, namely Nathaniel Carbonnier from Radio France International, Arnaud Wallerin from Liberation, Jan Vander Maid from Radio France International, Bruno Philippe from Le Monde, and international news channel France 24. Sikyong also met with representatives of Paris-based Buddhist centers as well as the group of Tibetan youth as part of his official engagements on 1st and 2nd December respectively. He talked about the significance of Tibetan environment, religion, tradition and language to the later group while shedding light on how to advocate the Tibetan freedom struggle through participating in the CTA's VTAG initiative. In the afternoon of 2nd December, Sikyong addressed the Tibetan community in Paris about the recent approval of the bipartisan Resolve Tibet Act from the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee and other key issues. Before wrapping up his official engagement, Sikyong Penpa Tsering visited the Tibetan Weekend School and interacted with the teachers on 3rd December. Khenpo Sonam Tenphel, the Speaker of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile, spoke at the roundtable discussion on the topic Parliament in Exile, the Tibetan Election. The monthly series of roundtable discussions on Tibet and Tibetans in exile, known as Tibet Talks, was organized by India Foundation on 30th November. The speaker spoke on the overview of Tibet's significance as the roof of the world and its historical independence, emphasizing its rich culture and religion. He expressed gratitude to India for hosting Tibetans in exile for over 6 decades and highlighted the strong historical, cultural and spiritual bond between Tibet and India. Following that, the speaker spoke in details about Tibetan Parliament in exile, including its structure, sessions, elections and functions, and on the deteriorating human rights situation in Tibet. India-Tibet Friendship Society have participated in the India Social Forum and started their Tibet Mukti Sadhana campaign from 2nd to 4th December at Bihar Vidyapith in Patna. Bihar Vidyapith is one such institution where students joined to support the Indian freedom movement introduced by Mahatma Gandhi. In this event, Tibet-told and Tibet-related books were distributed among the participants. National Vice President of India-Tibet Friendship Society, Mr. Surinder Kumar, State VP Pramod Kumar Sharma, V.P. Chandra Bhushan, and members have actively participated and explained the participants about Tibet freedom struggle and why it matters to India. On 3rd December, a seminar was organized by India-Tibet Friendship Society where former Member of Parliament and former VC of the Jain Vishwa Bharati University of Rajasthan, Dr. Ramji Singh, graced this meeting. India-Tibet Coordination Office Acting Coordinator Tenzin Jordan explained the grave situation faced by Tibetans under the communist regime in Tibet and expressed his gratitude to the Indian government and Tibet support groups in India for constantly supporting Tibettv Mukti Sadhana. That is all the news for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. Thank you for watching Tibettv.